All right, Escanor 012. I liked your post and I liked how you play, and I had some suggestions or things to think about. I'm learning this piece myself. I've been working on it for a while, and rather than try to explain, I thought I'd just make a little video for you. So the main thing that I want to emphasize for you is dynamic contrast. And what I mean by that is the difference between the highest part and the lowest part of an individual inside a phrase, a single phrase. So when this piece starts, even that series of Fs has a dynamic contrast. Soft, build, and again back to the initial. So just practice doing your introductory note and then a very soft okay. So we started from the very beginning adding more contrast. And then this note, this E is quite soft. And then we're building up to the C. And then very soft on this B flat. So. And that's just the very first phrase. The whole piece, every phrase, has a lot of dynamic contrast. That's one of the things I like about this piece, and it's one of the things that I have learned a lot. So I wanted to share this. The next phrase is similar, but it's up a step. The whole thing is louder. So we started here, but we're going to come in stronger. And in this case, instead of building back up like we did before, we just kind of die out and stay died out. I often sometimes understate this note because I'm trying to die out. And then we've ended very softly, so the next phrase comes in with contrast on top of it. It's not loud because we're going to go much louder after this. Louder. Louder. Soft. Soft. Feel how soft that is. You can almost not hear that note. But then we're playing such a dramatic contrast. And then even within that phrase, as we're about to end it, right here, that last A gets more weight. And then dying down. Soft. Back to loud. I don't know if you were doing this, I don't remember, but in one good way to get dynamic variation when you're repeating a note is to change the fingers. So you start with, I usually start with 4 here, and then I'm exaggerating the dynamics a bit, so don't take my extremes so literally, but it's good to practice at extremes because you build the ability to and the ear for the contrast, and then when you get more into playing it in a polished state, you can compress it and make it a little more a little less extreme and a little softer. Let's see what else. Okay, and so in the next section as we're coming down, also just briefly, left hand really soft, really soft. And when you're this C, because it's being repeated, gets very soft. You want to hear. I don't remember how you played the left hand, but it's just more every single phrase in every hand throughout the entire piece has a structure, a dynamic structure. When you want to know which notes to emphasize in the dynamic structure, play the harmony, play the skeleton of the song. So I'm gonna use pedal for this. Listen to this. Hear that? Reduce the music down to its bones, it becomes easier to know what notes are important to bring out. So when you're when you listen to this, what do you hear in this? You hear and the C isn't really, you don't hear, right? You hear. And the C just adds a little extra harmony. A little extra thickness and melodiousness, but it's not the note that you want to bring out. Okay, so for the next section, when you're coming down to E flat, very softly, landing softly on that E flat, and then a contrast, jumping forward, and then drop for an echo. Again over here. And to practice this, you can make it very dramatic. You wouldn't really play it that way, but to really get a clear. And so this is louder than the echo. And even within the echo, the first note is louder than the second note. This C is louder than the D. And then in the echo, the C is still louder than the D. And this continues. Now contrast. Listen to the difference between that high note and the low note of that phrase. exaggerating the contrast slightly, but practice with this exaggeration because you're playing fairly evenly. Your dynamics are there, but they're within the middle range, or maybe slightly in mezzo forte. You're sort of playing fairly bit mid to mid high to my ear. I don't know your piano, but I think you can get much more soft in many of the phrases that you're playing. And then when you do that, the phrases that are the loudest will pop. Like there's the kind of surprise variation towards the end of the first movement. So this first D is it's surprising. But this G flat is soft. I mean, it's not super. I mean, I'm exaggerating again. When you play this in the piece, you're not going to play that at pianissimo, but it's going to be significantly softer than the start. And then now when you're playing this next section, die down. Really like, it's just relaxed. It's relaxed by the end. And then on the left hand, you're building. And then dying. Build. That's an echo, so it's softer again. And for this passage, really practice soft. Really just work as hard as you can to emphasize the dynamic contrast between this C and D alternation and the left hand making this. I'm still working on this part. This is one of the hardest parts for me. I lose my coordination on it. Doing the dynamics and the rhythm alternating right and left, it's this difficult. And now we're coming into the loud ending. And at these loud final chords, make them very sharp and crisp, on, off. Oops. On, off. On, off. On, off. On, off. Right on the tempo. Downbeat on. Rest off. And that sharpness of the notes starting and stopping emphasizes the forte of the notes. If you're sloshy in the chord, if you're sloshy in your release, if you're not precise with the timing, the impact of the loudness is blurred by that lack of clear articulation. I don't remember in your example how you played those final chords, so I'm not criticizing how you played them. What I'm doing is I'm talking through my understanding of the ways in which the dynamics of this piece become more crisp and evident. And I think it's an excellent tool for studying. This piece is an excellent tool for studying those mechanics. So I hope that helps. I hope that gives you something to think about. I think you're playing really well, and it's just really about exploring the landscape of dynamics in its full range, using the whole range, and then deciding on the architecture of each phrase And how much of that range do you want to use in each phrase? And how does it relate to the next phrase? Also, you're playing quite fast in your video, and I don't know if you're doing that because you're trying to show us a performance or if that's how you're practicing, but this is the thing I've learned, the most important lesson that I have learned for myself as a student of piano. Never, ever, ever play out of control. Slow down until you're in control, period. This is a hard and fast rule. The only time you would ever want to play out of control is to see how your control might fall apart if you were to speed up so that you can learn about where you might need to improve. And all a mistake does, when you make a mistake, you slow down and you work on control in that area. So for me, when I'm working on this, I mean, I'm playing a little out of control there because I'm trying to explain things, and so this you have to slow down. Until you're in total control of what you're doing. So what I'm trying to do, and I'm accomplishing it at this speed, is I'm trying to keep these soft, steady, and then trying to do a up, down, and then up higher, and then down. A crescendo. And that's very challenging for me. So if I were to try to practice that at speed, all I'm doing is drilling myself to play outside of my control zone. And I'm not building any core competency. But by playing outside the box of your control zone, you're just wasting time. In fact, you're just hurting yourself. You're training your brain to play patterns that weren't developed under control. And you're going to reuse those patterns and actually have to unlearn them and go spend more time in the control box. When you finally get there, you have to spend more time in the control zone in order to unlearn stuff that you drilled while you were out of control. So always, always, always slow down to the control speed. So when you're practicing these dynamic exaggerations and contrasts, slow it down. So that you can make it just pristinely contrasting in dynamics. And so you slow it down to whatever speed is natural for you. I mean, it's different for everyone. It might be very slow. It's often sometimes useful to set a metronome to eighth notes or even 16ths so that you can not worry about counting long pulses. You know, if I set this to my metronome to 120. That's a speed at which maybe, you know, at some point when I was learning this, I had to use it to go at that speed in order to work on control of the dynamics. And never exceed that. Always build your skill in the control zone. Okay, I hope that helps you. I'm gonna wrap it up here. Good work, and I just happen to be working on the same piece, and I can tell you're skilled, and you know that I'm hoping that what I've learned might help you. So cheers.